Hey everybody, thanks for joining. Welcome to our webinar. We want to consider your time, and it's a couple minutes after 11:30, so we're going to get started. My name is Paul Zastro, and I'm a senior pre and post-sales systems engineer at Barcodes Group. On behalf of the Barcodes Group and Aruba, I want to thank you for attending our webinar today on elevating your network to the cloud. You know your time's precious. We're going to help you gain some valuable insights into the solutions we'll be going over. We do have a Q&A feature available on this webinar, so please feel free to send us any questions as the webinar goes on. You'll find that at the bottom of your screen, and we will try to address them during or at the end of the webinar as time allows. At this point, I'd like to welcome and turn it over to Chris McIntosh, Aruba Network Systems Engineer. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Paul. So again, welcome to everyone, and I'm really happy to be here and present a little bit about the Aruba solutions today. And so with that, let's go ahead and get into the agenda. So first of all, what I'd like to do is restate some of the tectonic shifts or trends and challenges that a lot of the industry is facing across all verticals today. From there, we're going to move into the Aruba solutions because we like to give our customers choice. And we're going to specifically hone in on Aruba Central Cloud Native Management. And then we'll move into the demonstration actually of that as well. And from there, we're going to move back to Paul, talk a little bit about barcodes and Aruba and in terms of our partnership. And then of course, like Paul said, we're going to mention and go over some of the questions and answers. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and input those into the chat or Q&A as well. And then we will try to answer those along the way here. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about some of the things in the environment or some of the shifts that we're seeing in IT today. And so just concentrating, looking a little bit about the external factors that we're seeing in the industry is that there are really three major factors, and you can see that there's two on the screen here. So mobility, IoT, and cloud are sort of the tectonic shifts that we're seeing huge gravitation towards in terms of the growth of the number of devices in IoT devices. For example, things like thermostats, Raspberry Pis, Roombas, and HVAC units, all sorts of devices are connecting to the network. Now, they're connecting to the network and they may or may not have security. So those are additional risks or issues that might need to be addressed, right? And so we're talking about BYOD devices. We're talking about corporate devices, both wired and wireless. So there's a number of different factors that we're seeing. And sort of this next wave of technology really has to do with mobility, IoT, and then how cloud factors all of that stuff in. And we're actually seeing that in 2021, this year, industry analysts are predicting there's going to be 50 billion IoT devices online that are going to onboard onto networks. So this is really important to keep top of mind in terms of not only being able to provide things like, for example, you can see geography. So like scaling out your organization, multiple sites, branches, locations, those types of things, while keeping predictable performance and meeting SLAs along with those. So really all of those factors in terms of the external are things that we're seeing get pressed onto the network. So being able to have performance, security, and all of the things that revolve around that scale are going to be really important. And then in terms of organizational management, we're seeing that, of course, budgets are level, if not declining, in a lot of cases, as well as manpower. So it's really important to have skilled IT administrative staff on board. But even when there's not, how can we help meet that, right? So the idea behind providing, say, tools for administrators that are generalists, that are being tasked with knowing a wide breadth of different solutions is very important. And then the other things as far as like insight, traditionally we've had siloed approaches to this. So And when I say we, I mean the industry at large has approached this from a traditional mindset of a particular application sees just itself and doesn't have visibility in terms of being a sort of unified architecture, and how that's really important now. And to gain visibility, insight, marketing information, and control, basically to help reduce risk and vulnerabilities. And then, of course, flexibility. So scale, elasticity, and other factors are going to be really important to the business. Like, how can IT get out of the way so that the organization can grow organically the way it needs to? Right. So these are the factors in the industry. These are the things that we're seeing as far as like the industry shifts and what people across all verticals are seeing today. So it's really important to develop intelligence and automate networks to provide you with, meeting the criteria and status quo for these different factors that I've mentioned. So simplicity across provisionment of networking devices, whether that's wireless or wired, whether that's on-prem or cloud native, there is a really important emphasis around the simplification of that process and reducing time to implementation. And we have things that we'll get into a little bit about, say, like, for example, zero-touch provisionment, those types of things that will make life a little bit easier for partners and customers. And then, of course, comprehensive management solutions, right? So I mentioned a little bit about not being siloed anymore, right? Being able to provide information across the board. So having this unified infrastructure is very, very important. And basically ensuring that there's not only availability and performance requirements, but security, of course, as well. And then finally, things like building bridges into other applications. Well, at Aruba, we give you choice. As you can see on the screen here, there's an on-prem solution as well as cloud native. We're going to focus a little bit more on the cloud native for this presentation, but just realize that we do have on-prem solutions as well. And then, of course, RESTful API integration for other applications, whether it's big data types of applications, whether it's providing analytics and information, but basically being able to meet your needs as your business grows and as your business evolves. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more around Aruba Central specifically. So the idea or the concept around cloud native management with Central is that it's an experiential product. And the idea with the experience is that it can help IT generalists get up to speed very quickly, and you don't need a PhD to get this working. And not only is it the single pane of glass for both wired and wireless and WAN, but you can see that there's additional services on the left-hand side of the screen. So we have things like guest wireless enhancements, presence analytics, so that you can see users as they move across different areas, even coming into range of wireless. We have proximity tracing for COVID. We have also things like unified communication to see voice call quality when basically using, say, IP telephone capabilities, which is very common now as we tend to scale out with remote workforce. And then, of course, RESTful API integration, like I mentioned previously. So the layers of the stack on the right-hand side of the screen are going to be that we have wired, wireless, and WAN capabilities. The hallmarks are going to be simple, intelligent, and secure. And then Aruba Central is going to supply the capabilities of network management capabilities, intelligence and insight, and then, of course, security, all while giving you an sort of open platform and the ability to create RESTful API linkage to other products. So if I talk about the full stack solution for just a second, we do have a SD-WAN solution. So we tend to lead with talking about SD-WAN instead of traditional routers, but we do still have those as well. So the idea with this, though, is that at a branch location, you can deploy a gateway. That gateway then can connect with a head-end VPNC in a data center, and it can all be managed through a Aruba Central single pane of glass management. Now, when we build this out, that was just SD-WAN. Now we call this SD branch. And the idea or concept behind that nomenclature is just that we have access points, switches, gateways, and then we secure the entire environment with ClearPass Policy Manager. And then again, this is all sort of managed centrally through that cloud web browser. And moving from there, so this is the full stack, and I'll kind of get into and demonstrate this in just a second. But what I wanted to do was talk about the Aruba Central 90-day free account. So anyone has access to go out and sign up for Aruba Central. There's no download necessary. Essentially, the idea is that you can see and leverage Aruba Central for 90 days if you have an Aruba access point or Aruba switch. It does require that you use Aruba infrastructure. Now, you can get access to using up to 10 devices. Those can be APs or switches. And again, this is for 90 days. And if you want to try out just a simple test drive without configuring your own environment, you can do that as well. Just go do a Google search and type in Aruba Central test drive. And then basically you just put in your information, and then it launches you into a guided tour of Aruba Central, which I would totally recommend that you go do. So if you have any questions around that, please reach out to Paul or myself, and we can help direct you to the right place. And with that, let's go ahead and demo Aruba Central. So this is the Aruba Central interface. So when you first log in, you're going to see a screen of network management or ClearPass Device Insight. You can choose network management, and then this is the screen that you'll see. And what I want to kind of direct you to is that we have a dynamic menu system. So for example, I'm at a global level here, and then I can see across the screen in the top section here that I have WAN health, summary, Wi-Fi connectivity, and artificial intelligence insights. So this is really cool because this is kind of what I was telling you about earlier, where we're providing insights and recommendations based on the dynamic nature of both wireless and giving you information about your wired and WAN infrastructure as well. And we say you can get anywhere in Central in about 2 clicks, and that's because the menu system is very dynamic. If I click on global, you'll be able to see groups and sites. Groups are going to be containers of configuration for wireless, for wired, for gateways, and then sites are going to aggregate the groups and give you a total workflow view, as well as the topology, and I'll show you that in just a second. So let's do this. I can see that there's a few different sites on the screen here. I'm going to click into this, and I'm going to see that there's 2 different sites. And I can see when I hover over the pin drop that this site shows the name, Tolovana Lab. I have a user experience insight sensor, which is a great complement to Aruba Central. I have AI insights, devices, clients, and uplinks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go actually back to the top menu system, and I want to look at the total aggregate of Wi-Fi connectivity. And so I'm going to see that over the last 3 hours, I've had really good success. Everything's looking good. Now, if I want to go back, I can actually go back up to a month in historical information here. So I can see that there's .1x authentication issues, DNS issues. I can drill into and I can see, if there's any problems with these. So I can actually see if there's a DHCP server connection issue. And then basically what this will do is it'll give me historical content based on that time frame. And then so we can, like I was talking about, we can dig into some of these issues. Now I can go into this and it'll show me the site that's been impacted, the server, access point, and client. So this is actually very, very useful information because it leads you to the root cause analysis with the shortest amount of time possible so that you're not hunting and pecking around to find out where the issues are. So there's a lot of capabilities around this. AI Insight is a fantastic capability. These are included with Aruba Central, the base subscription cost. So it's status quo for anybody that uses Aruba Central today has these features. And what I wanted to do was just quickly kind of go through a little bit on the left-hand menu side as well. So at a global view, I just wanted to quickly show you that we have some examples of online, offline APs. So we have APs. VC stands for virtual controller. We actually use a software-based controller in our access points. And the virtual controller is on site, it's on-prem. Central in the cloud orchestrates the configuration of the software that's locally embedded to the access points. So if the cloud goes down for whatever reason, the APs stay up and they continue working. Our APs and the TCO or the value proposition of Aruba access points is that you don't need anything to get up and running. You layer cloud orchestration on top for additional AI and insights, crowdsourcing capabilities, and historical information, as well as alerting capabilities. So there's a lot to this. And say, like, for example, when I click on one of the access points, I can actually see MAC address, uptime, firmware version, the power draw, whether it's synchronized with the configuration audit in Aruba Central, if it's getting a static or dynamic address, the switch it's connected to. And I can go down and I can see both radios. I can see client access, or I can see if it was in monitor or spectrum monitor mode, channels, power levels, how many clients are connected to each, and I can see the data path. So this is the data path from the access point. I can see that there's 8 clients connected to the 5 gigahertz radio. This AP is advertising an SSID to these clients. It's being powered by this switch, and then that switch is connected to a gateway. So you can actually see quite a bit of information around this, which is just really great data to have. Now, if I went into and actually looked at the client level is fantastic here. So as you can see, there's 10 different clients that are connected, and they're connected to a specific VLAN with a specific IP address. We can see the APs they're connected to, as well as the amount of utilization. And this, again, over this time frame. So if I change the time frame, you'll see different information. Now, if I go to a specific client that I have connected here, we'll be able to see the client information as well. So client connected to this SSID being broadcast from this AP, and then we can see things about the client. So we can see this is a Windows device. We can see the client speed. We can see the radio capabilities at the client level, and we can see the throughput over the last 3 hours for this client, as well as the health and the signal to noise quality information here. Now, if I want to drill in a little bit further, not only can we see that, but we have layer 7 visibility, so deep packet inspection capabilities here. So you can see layer 7 visibility, which we do have a stateful firewall built in to our access points at the edge that can see over 3,000 different applications. You don't need to pay anything extra to be able to have this feature. It's built in. And it's an easy 4-step process to create an SSID. So we can see everything from O365 to G Suite to cloud-based information. And we do have Bright Cloud Web Content Classification here. So that's just a little bit around Aruba Central. So I showed you a little bit about the sites, about the AI insight capabilities, Wi-Fi connectivity health, the devices and the clients and the data paths of those. So if we go back over to the demonstration, I'd like to, the presentation here, I'd like to hand things back over to Paul.
Thank you, Chris, for that great information. Now that you've learned a little bit about Aruba's Cloud Central and their wireless and wired solutions, you may be asking yourself, how does Barcodes Group, people like me, fit into everything? We're a solutions partner of Aruba. That means we, get discounts with them, get good pricing. The different Barcode Group entities offer the sales, design, deployment, and support services required to get these solutions implemented and maintained. We're going to go over that in a future slide, but for now, keep it on this slide. You'll notice some of the services we offer on the screen. From design and deployment perspective, I'll talk about support a little bit, but from design and deployment, our professional services team does on-site assessments and surveys, as well as remote predictive designs. These are often the starting point of a larger project, but they could be used as well for just troubleshooting what you've got now. Try to fix what you've got now. For projects, we gather information about business objectives, requirements, network application, security, RF requirements. This enables us to design a customized Wi-Fi solution based on what you're dealing with, what your environment is. We work with Aruba to choose a Wi-Fi solution that best meets your needs. I'm very familiar with all their solutions. We have engineers that have used Aruba for many years, installed many systems, all different types and sizes of businesses. And we can help pick out a solution that meets your needs and alleviates any pain points you might have. We then offer a turnkey solution if you'd like. If you don't want to do the cabling, the installation of cabinets or racks, the wired infrastructure, the wireless infrastructure, mounting the APs, configuration and troubleshooting, we can do all that as a turnkey type solution. If you want to do some of that yourself, we'll fit in a type of solution that works for you. As far as the support side, with Aruba, we can offer around-the-clock support if needed for all deployed hardware. We have our own in-house technical staff to deliver solutions across multiple platforms. Thank you, Chris. We're experienced and certified with the Aruba solutions. It doesn't end there. After deploying your devices, we can offer our own support with the engineers who configured your system and know it well. People like me, I'm actually technical, and I not only help our sales reps find the solutions that work best for their customers, I do surveys, I do configurations, and I troubleshoot. So I'm very familiar with all the steps in the process. Next slide. So our goal is to partner with our customers as a provider to improve your operations, offer future-proof technologies like you saw today, and offer reliable and knowledgeable support to keep you up and running. We could be the one company you need to contact for both your devices, scanners, mobile computers, and the infrastructure. We have professional services teams that specialize in both. At this point, we do have some time for Q&A. I don't see a lot of questions. Feel free, if you've got questions, to ask them now. Otherwise, Chris and I have some questions that I could ask him that you might be thinking but not asking, that are kind of common questions people might have. So Chris, when would you deploy Aruba Central, would you say, versus like a Cisco solution?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I would say that not only are we very competitive from a cost standpoint, but Aruba solutions today have been number one in terms of the industry analysts. We have won Gartner's critical capabilities in all 6 categories. And basically, we are the only vendor to do that within the last few years. We've done it multiple times. And not just that, but basically that's the ability to provide a solution that we can deliver on the expectations, right? So we have basically built-in capabilities in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of unified infrastructure, and then security. And we do something called zero trust security. And basically the idea is that we can do all of these things in a more simplistic, better capability than our competitors can do. So that's.
I would add that you can see things like floor plans and maps and heat maps, and you can't do that with traditional Cisco wireless. It's a much more modern interface, wouldn't you say?
Right. Yeah. The idea there is we have products and capabilities, features that are built in to our solution rather than bolt on. So you don't have disparate types of siloed applications that you have to go into and configure, and there's more minutia as far as the configuration process. It's more expensive. It's a slower time to deploy. It requires more investment in learning that system than what ours does.
So another question, Chris, are you required to purchase licensing to the Aruba APs and switches for them to continue to function or be managed from the cloud?
That's a great question. And for the APs themselves, there's no licensing for those APs at all. You buy the AP, it's fully functional out of the box. Now we augment the capabilities of that AP through the cloud. The cloud is optional, it's not required. The cloud cost is going to be subscription-based, 1, 3, or 5 year, and it's going to be priced based on the device. So you'll have an access point or a switch, and then you would license based on the number of APs and switches you have for 1, 3, or 5 years. And again, it takes a great product and it makes it better. So we actually have alerting capabilities, reporting capabilities, historical information that will help you, and of course, the ease of connect remotely, and especially during COVID, it's really important to have that ease of use. So I think that those things, those benefits to using Aruba Central are very paramount right now.
You have a question from Christian. He asks about Airwave versus Aruba Central. What are the pros or cons or benefits of Airwave versus Aruba Central?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Airwave has been around for many years. It's 15 plus years old. It is typically deployed as a virtual machine. It can be used with multi-vendor actually, and it has some really great reporting. Some of the benefits to Aruba Central over Airwave are going to be that you don't have to install anything. So you don't have to have hardware on-prem. You don't have to install, or configure really anything on your APs and switches. We can do what's called a zero-touch provisioning. And I didn't really get into this too much, but the idea is that you can order SKUs from Aruba and barcodes that will allow you to basically configure ahead of time the APs and switches, and then basically just plug them in when they get on site. They'll go out, talk to the Aruba Central server, pull down the configuration and start advertising SSIDs, go into the proper VLAN, have the proper IP assignments, and so on. And with Airwave, Airwave is a fantastic monitoring tool, but it is, again, something that's on-prem. We do offer that. We'll continue to have that available. But the direction of Aruba has been more focused around cloud. We have, certifications, FedRAMP, NIST, like all those types of things. We're basically integrating with.
I don't want to interrupt you, Chris, but Christian has another question. We're down to just a minute or so. He's wondering, are the analytics and metrics with those two choices comparable?
Yeah, actually, so we have crowdsourcing capabilities in Central that we don't have in Airwave. So Airwave is going to be static in terms of like deployed on-prem. And so it doesn't have the ability of connecting with a community to give you advanced alerting capabilities. So you're going to have more AI, machine learning, and those types of nuances around Aruba Central than you would with Airwave.
We are time up. Again, we're conscious of your time. We will keep answering questions if you have them. Thanks, Christian. If any of you else want to reach me, go ahead to the next slide. There's my contact information. Again, on behalf of Barcodes and Aruba, I'd like to thank you all for joining, elevating your network to the cloud. If you have further questions, like I said, you can reach out to one of our experts with the solutions providers that you see on the screen. These are all part of the Barcodes group, Barcodes, MCAT, Informs, and OCR Canada. Feel free to reach out to them. You can also reach out to me directly at my contact information you see on your screen. Again, I'm technical, get involved in your conversations on a technical or pre-sales level. And again, we can arrange calls with sales and me and you, or any combination thereof. So thanks again. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.